Did I hear someone say there was a new project? Did I hear someone say there is a new schedule? Did I hear a new place to break ground? Okay, so there must be a new assignment and some new things to cover. And your lead builder is ready for the action. All right, let's get set up here. Let's get set up. To my laborers, hello, hello, hello. All of my newbies, hello to you as well and welcome, okay? So grab your safety goggles because you have tuned into the Laborers Lounge, all right? All my loose screws, my rusty nails, my chip blades, and my live wires. And all of God's people who are metaphorically connected to this thing right here, this platform, okay, where you just need some fine tuning. All right, so I'm your spiritually sound creative. If you're new here, welcome. If you already know me, then you know the energy that I'm bringing. Okay, I am your spiritually sound creative, as I said, and you have tuned in to Retool by Jasmyn podcast. Welcome, welcome, welcome. All right, so lace up those bootstraps. All right, put that hard hat on, give it 2 taps, 3 taps, 12 taps, 20 taps, okay? Because you and I are going to make it one phase at a time. All right, we're going to fix it up. We're going to fix it up. We're going to fix it up. Okay, you hear those heavy equipment pieces outside. You hear the tapping, okay? People are building all around us. People are building all around us, okay? And I need for you to join in on this building that we're going to be doing spiritually, mentally, emotionally, and physically, okay? So episode 2, that's where we are. We're on episode 2, and episode 2 is going to be me explaining why I am the stone that the builders rejected. All right, and I want to let that sit in because however you would like to take that, however you feel that you have interpreted that, we're going to dig into it a little bit more biblically, but we're also going to dig into it a little bit more from the natural in my story time and in my experience, okay? All right, so episode 2 is the stone that the builders rejected. So the way that I have metaphorically aligned this is paralleling this with one of the most heaviest and hardest things that I've dealt with in my life. It's something that places depression and anxieties a lot of times on my life, and that is in failed relationships. Okay, if any of you have experienced that, you can definitely type it down in the chat. You can type it in a comment, or you can just lift your hand and say amen, that I've experienced that as well. Failed relationships definitely make me feel as if I have failed. It feels like I'm set back 20 steps when I thought I was going 45 steps forward into a future. Okay? So, to expound on that, I feel that I have been the cracked stone, okay, in certain relationships, not all. And these relationships are even meaning whether we're in a talking phase or whether it is an elongated, actually solidified relationship, a commitment. So I feel like I have been the crack in some, the cracked stone. But our God simply has told me, and this is something I woke up and realized out of the 35 years of living, that I simply had the wrong builders. I had the wrong builders. Those builders were never assigned for this project. Now, that's no slight off of anyone. But when you take an analysis of previous relationships that you've had, over however many span of years. It doesn't matter what the relation was. Like I said, whether that be fly by night, whether that be a committed relationship, or whether that be short, sweet friendship that maybe developed into a relationship, whichever way it came. My God told me that I simply had the wrong builders. No matter the quantity or the quality, they were not designed for me in the first place. So while I thank you for the experiences, while I thank you for the many milestones and the memories, they were the wrong builders. All right. Within this, let's talk about rejection. Okay, nobody likes rejection, whether that be disapproval, whether that be a no, many no's, or whether you have been left behind. Okay, all of those things build us up, correct? So as I talk about rejection, I will tell you the effects that rejection would have on me. All right, so we're going to get some deliverance here. We're talking truth. We're talking transparency. Okay, we are talking transparently to each other. Although I can't hear you, I know you can hear me. Okay, and you can always pause this and take a breath and take a moment. Okay, because there's some things that I know that you might have to reflect on, like I did. All right, so I suffered from a lot of anxieties, as I said before, depression. I had certain distorted realities, okay? Drinking binges that I would go on as my coping mechanism to try to understand how's it been 4 years. And regardless of ups and downs, regardless of the finger pointing, we've overcome some of these things. But all around me, and even in instances, a couple of months, maybe a year, people are occupying that finger, but I'm not. And I will share with you that many times I was not the problem. Never said that I didn't do anything wrong, or never said that there were not things that I could have been better at, or done better, or executed differently. That's totally different. But I never was the problem. Even in the relationships that I've had, whether I came in contact with a narcissist like I have, 2 of them to be exact, whether I came in contact with someone who was very comfortable and there was no growth, whether I came in contact with someone who tried to shape, shift, remold me after you loving who I was for who I was. That's how you got me. You hear that? See, all of my heavy equipment operators are beeping because they understand. That's how you got me. I won you over, or you won me over, whichever way, but we meshed. And so now here we are. And those same things become the demise. You're too cute. Your character is too glowy. There you go. There you go. Yeah, get into the groundwork. Get into the root of this, okay? Your character outshines the room naturally, boldly. Okay? Your achievements and your accolades feel like they're hanging over someone's head as if you're better. And that never was. You had those achievements, or you've gained those achievements along the way due to your own purpose. I could keep going. or many different things. Okay? Overstaying my welcome was definitely a habit. And matter of fact, I've created a list for you, okay? So let me show you this list. And these are my notes. Let me show you this list, okay? I wrote them down. Yes, they're on Post-it notes, and I made them into a long CVS receipt, okay? No judging here. All right, my builders are still working. All right, my builders are still working. I want you to keep working as well over there. I think this is so profound because, ladies and gentlemen, whoever may be listening, I'm actually in my office, okay? And as authentic as this is, something that I really was not until like a couple of years ago, not my full authentic self. I can say that because I was so much of a perfectionist, wanting everything to be right, wanting everything to be perfect. But I love this because this construction that's going on actually outside of my building aligns exactly with what we're doing today. All right. So some of my habits, along with not being my authentic self to the fullest, I would overextend myself. I would overperform. Overperform, if you're not familiar with that, overperforming is trying to prove yourself to that person. Even though you know you're great, you know you are fitting, you know where and this can happen in the workplace, this can happen with your friends, but this is in relationships. Lack of boundaries, lack of standard, and lack of boundaries and lack of standard are both going in hand. Okay? Because if you don't have standards, then you won't have boundaries. So that's another area I would fail in a lot. And that was a habit of mine. Especially if I liked you. Especially if we were in love. Putting the man before myself. Putting the man before myself. Making my partner feel whole with experiences, travels, etc. that they had never experienced before, but I grew up blessed enough to have done that. Or because I allowed myself, just in my college years, to be explorative. And so I would be able to bring that to you, so you can have a shared experience as well. I focused on things like that because I felt like those things, those doings, made me more valuable or added more brownie points. All right, so part 2 of this. So making my partner over catered to. Over catering. That's also coming with a lot of, like I said, those experiences. There's nothing wrong with catering to your man or your woman. Never have I said that there's anything wrong with it. But that's also in correlation with overperformance. Okay? All right, just want to make sure we're still here. Falling in love with potential. Somebody come help me off the floor, because that should have been number 1 on my list. Falling in love with potential. Nothing wrong with seeing a man, because I get a lot of prophetic visions when I meet people. Doesn't matter what gender and what race, what age. I have a lot of prophetic visions that I don't speak about all the time, but with me being a ministry student and with me walking this line within ministry towards even ordainment, okay, I'm embracing a lot of these gifts that I have had since I was younger, okay? And that is one of them, falling in love with potential. And the enemy has a great way of skewing and rearranging the future that I envision. I speak life into people a lot. especially if you're my man, or we're in a relationship that we are working towards, that has a future behind it, a huge future behind it. So we're saying, my seed planting is A1. I'm not even going to sit here and act or downgrade. My seed planting is A1. And more than likely, when I start speaking that, it's always coming from the natural me. It's always coming from a prophetic view of what I see out of who they are and the natural gifts that they have, or what they're already currently doing, that makes me go, idea. There you go. They come off just like that. And so when it comes from here and it comes from here, it just flows and it comes out through here. See how that works? And what do they say? The power is in the tongue. So when I speak that, that's giving so much life. And it's great to have a woman or a man around you that can do that, that does that for you. But what happens on the back end to the person who ends up being the stone that the builder rejected, when it's all said and done, they are emotionally drained. They are mentally confused. How did we get here? How did I get here? Because you poured so much into the wrong individual. I'm not sure if any of you have had these experiences, but after a breakup or after any kind of a separation, have you not had an experience, any of you, where you both part your separate ways, and then it seems that the other party starts to flourish, starts to pick up those same things that you may have been speaking about, starts to wear those different color shirts that you used to tell them that they looked great in back then, but they had no interest back then. And I'm just gonna name some things. Starts traveling a little bit more. They weren't a traveler. They were never a traveler. They end up picking somebody next that either favors you, emulates you. It's almost a carbon copy, not you. But all of those things end up becoming their next pick, and their next pick seems to be a little bit faster to the conclusion, to the result, to the that you have been praying over. Okay? These are my experiences. I'm also speaking over other people's experiences out of my girlfriends, out of my guy friends. So I found my peace. But what I'm bringing to you are realities, and I'm also bringing to you truth. I'm also bringing to you an overview of exactly the Lord was speaking to me just then. Exactly what is happening around you that you're not alone in. Okay? All right, so let's continue. Another habit of mine would be working too hard not to be a statistic, i.e. the baby mama, the divorcee, the married and miserable. Worked too hard to try not to be those things. And you already know what happens sometimes when you say never. All right, laborers. Okay, so we're back from a small adjustment that I had to make. All right, so next up is turning the page when the ink runs dry. Okay, let me explain what that means. That's something that I kind of created as like a little metaphorical way of saying that I am a person, I'm an innovator, I'm a creative, I love things that make me tick. I love to develop things. My mind is ever working. So I'm always either thinking about the other person's next move so that I can, surprise them and be this or be that or do this or do that. And I usually try not to expect things to be done like that with me if I definitely know that the other person is not an extrovert like myself, or someone who has those same characteristics, who doesn't just think on their feet like that. You know, thinking about the small things is what I like to do, and then I make them big, you know. There are many different examples. You know, if I've heard you say that you like a certain particular book, or you've read a particular book before, there's nothing for me to find that author, see where they're actually coming to speak one day, and then surprising you with tickets, regardless if that's in a different state. You know, I'm that type of person that does things like that. So expecting those kind of things back, for me, when the ink starts running dry and we've gone through honeymoon phase, as you would call it, the puppy love phase, I always am able to move past the puppy love and honeymoon stage, because I always am the person that keeps it spicy, keeps it, you know, on your toes. There's always something new about me that you might learn in a relationship, so I know that that's going to transcend into marriage as well. None of that is going to change, and it never has. But once I see, as of course, as you can still hear those heavy equipment pieces going, one of the things that I had noticed is that a lot of times the ink would run dry. So either my mind would go other places, or I would think maybe it's getting a little lazy or lackadaisical within the relationship. And I don't know, I would choose something better. Be ready to move on. Okay? That does not result in cheating per se for everybody, but it does make you want more. It makes you yearn for more in your own relationship. So one of my habits was doing that earlier on in my years. Long relationships. I had 2 relationships for 4 years. One before that was 2 years, and another one before that was a high school sweetheart of mine. And you know, the devastations between whichever relationship those were that I just named. Ultimately I was drained. Because I felt like I had poured everything into it, and I had done that. And although I became and had continued to become the successful woman, accomplished woman, definitely amazing, developed woman, an evolved woman that I am, still being sought after, but not all the time by the right people. I definitely can say that I left those relationships where seeds were planted, as I said before. So yeah, another one would be leaving my goals behind to lean on a man's leadership. Never again. Never again. I am one that loves a man that can lead. There are so many different elements in the very beginning that shows you a man or a woman can lead, that they are the leader, especially if you are the nurturer, if that is who you are. There are many boss women, there are many boss men, you know, especially the women who are, like, you want to call them alpha women, who are bosses. But for the right man, they will take a seat. They will sit back if they find qualities in that man that shows them that they are a leader. But what I would get confused a lot of times is that I would leave my goals, abandon my dreams and wishes, even though I knew I still had them, in order to be a wife. And I found that not to work. And that is why you might hear a lot of women say, I'm not going to do wife things for a temporary situation, or for a boyfriend, or for this. Those things are very valid to say. Understood, understandable, because apparently they've done them before and it did not work out in their favor. And then there are some women who have to do absolutely nothing. There are people who have, you know, kind of been pacified throughout the entire relationship, and they still end up getting married. And then you sit and wonder, possibly, what happened there? How did they do it? But yes, another one to add to that, being naive. I definitely had to stop doing that. Being of comparison in other people's relationships, had to stop doing that, because I felt like I deserved some of those things and was not getting that or gaining that out of it. Not listening to the man when they say it the first time, and that goes for even in the dating stages. My finger is so heavy on the block button. My finger is so heavy on the dismiss button, and that's just, you know, through life, having no time for red flags. There are some hiccups there, of course, because I give grace. I've always been the person to give grace, and a lot of times I don't get that as much back, you know, and that's okay, because the way that my spiritual journey and everything has been, and the way God has blessed me, it's okay. But yes, definitely that, not listening the first time, being shown who they are and where your placement is. Definitely needed to believe that. Yes, and I definitely had a man of God before come and be interested in me as I was interested in them. And I remember being challenged in who I was, and definitely being tested to see if I was befitting for that person. And that was very disheartening. Like I said, I've had a narcissist before, that I definitely was naive about and did not understand some of those ways. And I had so much emotional damage from that, emotional traumas from that I had to grow from. And I asked God to definitely heal me from those. So I've had definitely a lot of different experiences. But I'm gonna talk back about a rejection. Even through all of this, it still stems back to rejection. Even the prophets were rejected, and ultimately they rejected God's son, Jesus. So there's a pattern that can happen. If you do not find God, if you do not believe in God, if you don't keep the faith and know, because I will once again say this, literally standing on the top of a mountaintop, that my God, our God, designed me and tapped me to be a wife. That I have no question about. And whoever that man is, he is being molded, shaped, brewed for me, definitely at the right time. I definitely do want more children. And I ask God, for that opportunity as well. But I know, and in my prophetic visions that I've had, that the Lord has been planning for me to experience this one time. And with that right man. Okay, there's so many that I got it wrong, where I projected out so fast because I fell in love with the potential, or fell into traps, and moved a little too fast, because the enemy knows that I love love. One of my greatest milestones I know, other than being a mother, that I know in my heart, has been to nurture, to be a caregiver for a family, a union, all under one house, because I am an only child. I have a stepbrother that I love, but in my household, I was raised by a single mother and grandparents, and I had plenty of a huge family that stood behind me in support always. And I know that aligned so well for some of the men that came into my life who lacked that. They became the son immediately. So where does my mind go? To future, because my parents and my family's embrace of them. It's natural for us and my character to be like that. So when things failed, I felt like I was the cracked stone of the relationship, because either it was made out to be that, or that would be a main factor, that I was the one. And holding on to something like that and letting God reveal to you, whether it be 10 years, 5 years, 2 years down the line, that you were not, that they were the wrong builders. The gospel that comes out of that, the blood of Jesus that bleeds from that. And so in my 35 years, I'm just thankful to God for where I am today. And I definitely want to send prayers out for anyone who's single and who's looking, because you are not a cracked stone. You are the perfect stone that is evolving into be the cornerstone of your future. All you ask and all you desire will be granted in Jesus' name. In Jesus' name. And I definitely want to take you all back to Psalms 118:22. So if you would like to learn more about the stone that the builder rejected, start there. Okay? Psalm 118:22. All right, well, I definitely thank you for listening in to episode 2. There's so much more to unpack here, but I definitely wanted to give you the raw and the real, and break down some walls for you. Definitely break down some walls for you on my end, so that you could see the rawness and feel the rawness of exactly where I've been. Thank you all for listening in to episode 2. We are not done with this first phase of blueprinting, okay? We have a while to go, but I wanted to bring you some stones. As vibrant as you are, I gift you this stone, because you are as beautiful as this stone. And I am enough stone, because you are enough. Never doubt that. And lastly, from all our experiences, we recover, okay? So whatever caliber that is, we do recover. All right? Retool by Jasmyn. Thank you. See y'all soon.